I'm in the Yuanming Yuan metro station off of line 4. I think these are some of the ruins from the old summer palace, which was burned down in 1860. Chinese history low point in humiliation by the foreign powers. The French and the British during the Second Opium War torched and looted the Emperor's Palace, which was their summer home retreat north of Beijing. And ironically, built with the help of the Jesuits in certain areas of the palace with European buildings, and it's those stone European buildings that survived in ruin in the park that you can visit today. All the way up here. It's a pretty big park, about 2.5 kilometers across. So be prepared for a little walking. The guidebook doesn't mention it, but over here they said there's a museum, Beijing Longji Tian Shadow Play Culture Museum. And the rest of the park has, I think, more modern gardens in this area, and the ruins are more up here. I was going to go to the Summer Palace today, but it's probably going to rain, not the greatest day. So I thought I could walk around the old Summer Palace first, then go down to the Sackler Museum. This is all Peking University down here. It's going on 11 o'clock. It took me a while to get here because I played my little hop-on, hop-off game of recording the metro stations. So I came up on line 8 to Beito Shang to line 10, transferred to line 4 at Hedian Huangzhuang. It probably would have been easier to just go to line 4 up here, but this was more of a straight line, and I like recording metro stops. As I read my guidebook in the morning, if I haven't read the section, it doesn't really waste any time because I'm reading the guidebook in between stops. So, not a big deal. The Summer Palace, the modern Summer Palace, that's a tourist attraction, is here. And its metro stop is Beijing. So we're now here at Yuanming Yuan. When I come out, I'll record this last curve. So. I'll go at exit B, I think, and check out the museum and see if it's open. It's a Monday, so I don't have a whole lot of options. I was gonna go all the way out to the botanical gardens, but I figured if it rains, I don't want to be walking around there and have no other options for getting inside, you know. The metro system in Beijing works fairly well with the stored value card. It's a little bit of a hassle to connect around to all the different metro stops, since, like Tokyo, which is modeled, both Tokyo and Beijing are modeled after the ancient city of Xi'an, which set the trend for city planning in East Asia for 1,000 years, with a palace at the center. That's great if you're the emperor, you're at the center of everything, but if you're the proletariat trying to get around the modern city that they've turned into, then all the metro lines have to circle around that palace, and that causes a lot of interchange from one line to another, as opposed to having a central station in the middle of the city where you can connect head, it makes it easier for planning too, because you would always head to the center of the city, make your connection, and then head back out. So I always feel like I'm making at least 2, 3, 4 connections a day on the metro. It's a headache. And you have to switch underground, you know, so you've got a lot of walking underneath the street, up, down, to get to the different stations. Uh-oh, it's robot time. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Panda! Kung Fu Panda! Yuanming Yuan. The way they're breaking it up in the Lonely Planet is to have the last UN as a separate word. Yuan is garden. Yesterday I went to the animal garden, the Beijing Zoo, where I didn't see the panda. I saw it the first visit I went to the zoo. And they weren't doing a whole lot. I have better footage of the pandas at the Shanghai Zoo, to be honest. Although the breeding facility here in Beijing is pretty important. So let me record my track. I'll show you my little trick here. What I do. Airplane mode comes off. No SIM card installed. I don't care. I'm using GPS and it's an unlocked phone. Bada bing, bada boom. It'll zero in on my location here. Sometimes it takes a minute. Zero in, zero in, zero in, boom, and it drops a line. Stop recording. And now I've got line 4. To do this, you have to be willing to get out of each metro station where it's not a straight line in between. And even then you end up with slightly less than perfect straight lines because you're in the east exit on one side of the subway and then you go out the west exit on the other side. So, you know, you get these imperfect lines, but the metro doesn't actually go in perfect straight lines anyway. They just show it to you like that on a map. So, not a big deal. Bus 331 can run you from here all the way out to Fragrant Hills Park, taking in the Botanical Gardens. But there's a whole bunch of other buses too. So, that's a neat little trick, isn't it? I wish Galileo would update itself. You know, the new iPhone's going to have a barometer. You're going to be able to do so much with tracking. But still, if you're underground, it's real difficult to get proper data. And I really wish Galileo would let you do this and just drop a straight line. That line's there. Now I should have an option to hold it, boom, and then say drop it and record that as a line. And I wouldn't have to get in and out of the metro like a jackass. I could just drop a line to record my my trip and say this is the route I need to follow in the morning, you know, like a coloring book. You could use a stylus too and trace an imperfect line. Double tap it or select the draw tool on Galileo and then draw a line with the stylus or your finger along the way the metro curves. It wouldn't be that difficult. Or they could just fucking overlay the metro, color code it to all the different colors of the line so it's not all red. You know? I think it's a lot of bullshit. Tourist info doesn't look open. Those tourist infos cater to the Chinese tourists anyway. They usually speak a little English and they can point you in the right direction or give you a map or a cup of water. So... Is that Subway? No. I just see something way, cafe something, and bistro, yellow and green away. It looked like it might be a Subway. We are near the university, so there may be a Subway sandwich shop around. I think if the Galileo app doesn't update, they'll probably put that stuff in. They have to. I've been recording city maps now, Tokyo, Shanghai, Beijing. I've got so much information here and it's all based on real-time GPS. So if you follow my route that I walk through this park and I mark off everything, then you're definitely gonna be able to follow, staff only. It'd be like an idiot's guide, you know, to visiting Beijing. You just follow my route GPS. I even thought of putting in like little audio recording things to describe what you'd see at each point. That's the future of guidebooks. You're not going to have this fucking around with a paper book. You're going to follow the GPS track, hit the point that you're supposed to be at, hit the play button, and it'll tell you about it. Cannot be refunded, valid only on the day, monthly ticket. Admission to the park, not for the gardens within the park. Annual ticket is invalid at this park. They're open till 5:30. Busy season open till 7 to 7. I think it's still the busy season. I want the through ticket. Hello. Student? No? Thank you. Sometimes they have students, sometimes not. But luckily, because of the exchange rate, you're never at much of a loss. This was 25 for the through ticket. Then I can go where I want. I will read you the Russian translation. It says this is culture park. Significant culture, man. So they're doing the little tear off each entrance thing. They give you these tickets with little tabbies on them, and they tear them off at each one you go through. This is the route I would probably want to take, huh? Recommended route through park. This would be best route through park. The National Archaeological Park at Yuanming Yuan is priority, blah blah blah, AAA, quadruple A scenic spot. It goes all the way, it's no, this is quadruple, it goes all the way up to quintuple. They have quintuple A level, 5 A's. And 13 thumbs. They have a system like we just have 2 thumbs, they have 13 thumbs, so it gets a little confusing. No, they don't have 13 thumbs. Sounds like something they would do though. So 3 gardens in the park. Garden of Perfect Brightness, Garden of Eternal Spring, and the Elegant Spring Garden together with... Together they cover about 350 hectares. And as a historically famous garden, once known as the Garden of Gardens, all gardening arts model. In October 1860, looted, burned, Anglo-French Allied armies. Became the most impressive site of the ruins in modern history China since the foundation of the People's Republic of China. The CPC, central government, attached great importance to the protection and utilization. Parks gradually developed into tourist attraction with traditional gardens and distinct cultural heritage. So the Bowu Guan is over in this area, but they don't show it here. Here's our little bus stops if I want to try to bus hop around, but I don't think they go through the park. They might have a little 5 Yuan tram that toots you around. Zhengjue Temple, Xianbai Pavilion. The lotuses have been out of bloom now for at least 3-4 weeks. Fenglin Islets, Hangqiu Hall, Palace Gates, Hanjing Hall. There's an exhibition here at the intersection of 3 gardens. Some food options. This is why it's not worth carrying a book bag. You want to carry a little day pack that goes on the front of your body. Another exhibition up here. That's like the symbol for exhibition or museum. Lions Grove, Shijilin. And over here is Juizhou, Qingyan. I think the ruins area is over here. Shiyuan Transport Hub, line 4. The symbol for the metro is a capital English D with a circle around it. Kind of like the @ symbol with a small lowercase a, but with a D and capital D in the center. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. I bought a new filter. It's still only a N95. It's hard to find the 99% filters. But it's got, this one has a valve on it, and it's much easier to breathe out through. So you keep it on more. It doesn't matter how effective the mask is if you don't want to wear it because it's stuffy. So I'd recommend getting one with the valve, which is what I did when I went up to the Ming tombs a few days ago. Old Summer Palace. Through ticket, 12th century, Jesuits employed by Emperor Qing Long. So this is much later, 12th century. 1100s would be in the Jin period, when the Jin and Liao were here. And the Southern Song left Beijing to make Hangzhou their capital. Then you have Mongol Ming. Yuan is the Mongol, and Ming, Han reign, and then you go through to the Qing, which is the Manchu reign, and Qing Long is one of the last good emperors of that reign, before Emperor Daoser Shishi takes too much control and runs it into the ground. She might have even been in power by this time of the Opium Wars. Emperor Shishi, she was the power behind the power. And she was like mother and aunt, I think, to two of the emperors. Anyway, so 1860. First Opium War is like 1830s. Second Opium War, 1860s. You know, China tries to assert itself and resist the colonialization of the Western powers, including America and United States. And they don't modernize like the Japanese do in the Meiji era, so they're still fighting with a outmoded army, and they lose terribly every time they try to assert themselves. Sometimes they call the Second Opium War the Arrow War. And each time they do this, the Western powers just march on the capital, you know, and this time they burned down the Summer Palace, and again China had to pay huge indemnities, so it backfires, major backfire for them. But they were right to try to assert themselves. I mean, the British had gotten 2 million Chinese addicted to opium by this time, and so much silver was flowing out of the state coffers. They were in really bad financial shape. Let's see. The wooden palace buildings were burned, but the Jesuit built European buildings of stone lasted a bit longer. But I guess when they abandoned the site, the locals just started carting away chunks of it to use in building local things. So that's what they do at the Great Wall up until about the 70s. Mao actually encouraged people to take pieces of the Great Wall. It wasn't until Deng Xiaoping came to power that they started preserving the Great Wall. So that's when you see like the modern preservation starting in China around the 70s. You know, they realized we have this cultural heritage we shouldn't be losing. That's also the period of normalization, I think, between the West again, and renewed interest from outside parties in Chinese culture, from a not imperial agenda, but a cultural exchange. They realize they have a lot to offer at that point, I think. You know, because the whole Cultural Revolution was tear it down, burn it. You know, when I went to the Ming tombs, one of the major ones that's been excavated there, the one with the underground palace, Dingling, the Red Guards came through during the Cultural Revolution and just burned most of it to the ground. They wanted to get rid of old culture, old ideas, and old religion. So we'll be looking for the marble ruins, the palace building scenic area, Eternal Spring Garden, which is in the northeast near the East Gate. That's pretty far away. 10 buildings. So that's not even what I want. I'll be entering down here, I think, huh? West of the Great Fountain Ruins. Yeah. The western section is where I am now. Perfection and Brightness. Southern Compound. Spring Gardens. I think that's where I'll enter here. Spring Gardens, right? Did you ever have to make up your mind? Choose one of the girls and leave the other behind. Did you ever have to finally decide? Body moving, body moving. Hello. 谢谢。 In the town where I was born lived a man who sailed to sea, and he told us of his life. So now we're in the forecourt, and we could hang a left here. Nobody seems to be going that way. You can buy a map too, I think it said in the guidebook, for 6 yuan, but with my Galileo map app, it's not really worth trying to follow two things, especially if the map's gonna be in Chinese. Ah, I fucking didn't record all this? What? Well, at least I've caught it now. I thought I hit the record button. I get distracted. So we're going into the fall, you know, so we're in this weird period where not a lot of things are blooming, but you still have, you still don't have the fall colors coming in quite yet. Probably another month. That's when Fragrant Hills is supposed to be real pretty. Fragrant Hills Park. Yeah. Guess gotta look at my map. Guess I'll head this way. I don't know how I get to the museum. Should I go check that out while I'm here? See if I can find it. It wasn't in any of the map stuff out front. So you probably have to access it, I would guess, by the street. Yesterday at the zoo, to access the aquarium, you kind of have to go through the zoo and pay admission, separate ticket. We tried 3 times to find the line that would give us a joint ticket, but had no success. They refused to give a joint ticket at the entrance to the zoo. So we'd pay 50 plus, I think it was 120, 130, 130, 135 maybe, to get into the aquarium. So 180, it's a bit expensive. And the aquarium, honestly, in Beijing is not the greatest. The only thing that I would recommend you go there to see are the beluga whale. They screech this hot, they call them singing white whale. Baiji, the white whale. And they screech, screech, screech. And I don't think we can go any further. But they do a they have them in this tank where they just screech all the time. At first I thought it was a little kid screaming, which I'm used to when I go into a park. You know? What is this? Lilac? Ah! It's hard to smell stuff when you're wearing a mask. And we still have some blooms here of roses. That always impresses me. I'm used to roses blooming in early summer and then they're done. So today is like pretty bad air quality day, as you can see. And I can actually see some mist. Feels like rain, but looks like it's actually, but I don't feel it. It's like a tiny bit of rain. The Botanical Gardens is supposed to have a little honeybee museum you can visit, and a temple that you can climb up to. There's a longevity hill to climb in the Summer Palace proper as well. But that's supposed to have good views over Beijing. Oh look, the lotuses still are out here. Well, I'll be darned. That is special. That's the staff entrance, or exit anyway, that we passed. Well, that's nice to still be able to see some lotuses. I was supposed to be by the biggest lotus park in China, in Hangzhou, in July, and there was maybe like 1 or 2 lotus buds that hadn't opened yet. So that's nice to see some lotuses still hanging out. The time that they bloom is really late July to late August. So in this area anyway of China, from what I've read. Aha! Here's an old map, aerial view. The idea of having a lake that you put your little retreat around does go back to the Hangzhou West Lake, which set the trend for garden landscaping, garden design in East Asia and China especially. We're here by John B. Pavilion, which is not open. So I guess what we should try to do is do this. Right? All this stuff. Come back down that way and we'll see most of it. Of course, from here you could get on the bus, but I think this is going to take up the better part of a day, so ruins of Yuanming Yuan, Yuanming Yuan open area. These are willow trees. Willow trees are a favorite to plant along park, weeping willow are a favorite for planting along park areas. They have A lot of willows in Westlake, and the famous, beautiful top 10 original scenes of Westlake. One of them is the Orioles and the Willows, the Orioles singing in the willows. And these are famous tourist spots that go back to the Qing Dynasty, when they would make pilgrimages. Emperor Qianlong made like 6 pilgrimages down there to Hangzhou, Westlake, the Jiangnan region. Jiangnan means south of the Yangtze. And so these were scenic and poetic spots where you would sit and contemplate the harmony of nature and man, and etc. Kanqiao Ruined Bridge. In its heyday, Yuanming Yuan had nearly 200 bridges. This bridge was a stone arch bridge over a stream outside the west palace gate of Fuchun Hall. What has been left over is a single arch, the only preserved old stone bridge after Yuanming Yuan was destroyed. I think that if you want to see some cool stone arch bridges, you should watch my video from any of the water towns: Tongli, Zhujiazhuang, Qibao. They're all full of famous arch bridges, stone arch bridges. That's the main attraction, is to walk along the canals, which usually are maybe half as wide as this in the water towns. And you take a little boat trip and get some food. They all have through tickets like this that you buy, and then there are several small museums and exhibits to stop at, and you can usually do them all in a day easily. So you take the bus out from Shanghai or Suzhou, and you visit all the little water towns that are scattered around that area of Jiangsu and Shanghai. I don't know that the Zhejiang province has many. See, these people are doing that. You take a little boat ride. So we came in the south entrance there. Ticket office for boating. How much do they want for a boat ride, I wonder? 20 yuan? That's not bad. And through September, you can do it from 8 to 6. May to August till 6:30. Then in October till 5:30. So they kind of run all day. This is the route they take, huh? That'd be a good way to come back if you're tired. Because if you get there, you're going to have to friggin' walk. I don't know if you walk from one park to the other park to the other park, if they will let you come back in. Sometimes they do one way only. It's a little frustrating. Tiantan is like that. Down in the south of Beijing, they give you these through ticket things that they clip for each one, and then some of them you even have to pay extra, I think, anyway. I don't remember. One of them maybe. Yeah, I think they were all included, but you go in, and then if you didn't see everything or exit the right side of it, well, too bad. Although they did let me back in at the end of the day to the Hall for the Prayer of Good Harvest at Tiantan, because I wanted to take a picture of it. And I just showed her my ticket and said, you know, photo. She said, okay, go. They're about to close anyway in a few minutes, so it didn't matter. Body moving, body moving. They didn't even bother to plant these flowers. They just put the little plastic pots down. They'll probably take them in for the winter before they die. That's actually a more economical way to do it, isn't it? Just leave the pots out like that. And then you can pick them up and take them into the nursery. Use them again next year, maybe. Stood there golden, sweating in the sun. I felt like a million, I felt like number one. My Bob Seger. Working on the night moves, trying to get those front page teenage blues. Working on the night moves. There's a watermelon museum too, way south of town, that I saw on Time Out. I bought the Time Out guide to Beijing, to Edinburgh when I was there for the festival, because I thought, oh, I might need a guide to the festival, you know. And then I didn't even have time to really thumb through it, you know. And I tried to return it to Barnes & Noble when I came back. They're like, you bought this a month ago. I was like, yeah, but I'm a member, and you could see it's not even creased. It's not been opened, you know. And I actually had 2 guidebooks I wanted to return because I didn't open them. One was like Exploring Scotland, Lonely Planet. And I only used the one guide I had for Edinburgh. And they're like, no, you can't return it. And I was like, I thought you make exceptions for members. That's what you told me when I bought these, because I asked if I bought too much. They're like, yeah, if it's like a day over the limit, we would take it back, but not a month. And I was like, you know, there's really no point to me coming to your store then, because every time I come here, there's like some annoyance of me going out of my way to come to the physical store of Barnes & Noble and buy a book, you know, and you wonder why you're going out of business. I've come here before, called on the phone, had a book that I ordered, and had someone come pick it up for me, because I was only going to be home for a day before I leave the country. And you got to give them my whole order, and like, you missed one of the books. So I was like in a foreign country, I didn't have the guidebook I wanted. Then I've showed up to buy a book that you told me was in stock, but you can't find it because maybe someone moved it to a different shelf or something. And your answer to me is, oh, go to this other store in another city, they have it in stock. And I'm like, yeah, right. Like, I'm going to show up there and then they're going to tell me the same stupid story that they have it. It says they have it in their computer, but they can't find it. You got to be kidding me. Plus, if you just buy the book from Lonely Planet, you get a 30% discount to buy the audio, not the audio, the digital version with it. So then you can have it on your phone too, you know? So then you could just leave the book by your bedside or something to read it every night, you know? And then have it on your phone. So, I get real annoyed with the guidebooks. None of them are very good. The problem with most of the guidebooks is they're not inclusive, you know? They leave a lot of stuff out. And if you're like me and you want to have a good use of your time, meaning you want to go somewhere and say, oh, I don't want to go there, take 2 hours to get there, or a half day, 3 hours, 4 hours, one way, and then miss something that was there because it's not in the guidebook, you know? When I could have easily walked to it. And a lot of them do that. They leave out a museum that's right there that you could have walked by that was en route, or like a small detour of a block, but you didn't know it was there because it's not in the guidebook. And yeah, a lot of them are little small things that doesn't matter. But if you're out walking around like I do, and you finish your day sometimes at 4 o'clock or like 3:30, you're like, oh shit, what am I going to do now? Because the next major destination in the guidebook, by the time I get there, I'll have like 20 minutes to try to walk around the place. It's not worth it. And so you end up finishing your day like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours early. And you think, huh, I know there was other stuff I could have seen along the way. I think what I should do now, though, is take guidebooks and go through them in the store, sit down in the cafe with them, and just take the points of interest and plot them on my little Galileo map. And then put the time they're open, what day they're open, and the time they're open. 'Cause that's another annoying thing. Sometimes they get the time or days wrong. You'll show up at something and it's closed, you know, like Monday, there's not a lot of shit open. Little calligraphy shop. Fortune telling? No. Composition of name by drawing.
代表一生平安，祝你健康快乐、幸福、美好。小红船啊，正板条的主板画眼边的花鸟字，少不了的就是弯竹。虽然很弯，但是弯中有细，高风亮节啊。哎，加点水，生命之源，是祥。花不完的钱是吧？这个咱们得发财，得有钱啊，金元宝啊。 送给你，花不完的钱，对，福气啊，然后健康快乐、幸福美好都送给你，是吧？远看就是字，近看就是画啊。彩蝶缤纷，喜气洋洋，再送您只蝴蝶，代表自由自在。
Those corn sticks are good treats, though. It's hard to find healthy snack food in a foreign country. Because you're not familiar with brands and you can't really read the ingredients, and pretty much anything you get that's got a wrapper around it is going to have way too much sugar. So you're better off just making sure you drink water for your drink and trying to have something that is starchy versus sugary, so at least you give your body a chance to burn it, you know. And you don't spike your blood pressure and rot your teeth. Working on the night moves, trying to get those front page teenage blues. I'm working on. This is almost melted. That's the other thing you can do is freeze a bottle overnight of ice, then it'll be nice and cool. And I have terrible eczema, so I put it against my skin while I'm walking, and that gives me a nice little ice pack during the day that I can then consume, and I don't have to carry home for you know, the rest of the afternoon a warm, mushy, leaky ice substitute thing, you know. So we've walked through Qing Yuan, and now we're at the border of Qing Yuan. Did we miss Hangqiao Hall, where there was an exhibit? I guess we did miss Hangqiao Hall. I'll have to go to it on the way back. See, and they do have these little carts that take you around. If you know what you're doing. And say, where am I going? Maybe point to it on the map is your best bet. Mandarin ducks are symbols of marital bliss. They got some swans, egrets, falcon is that? Kestrel. So we're gonna go see the bronze heads. They were talking about it in the guidebook, but I kind of didn't read it because we weren't quite there yet. But they have these heads that were on human-shaped bodies with animal heads that spit water out. There were, I think, a dozen of them because it was part of a clock system. That's what we saw on the subway, right? Part of that. There was a clock system, and each one represented 2 hours of time. The water clock. Working on the night moves. Front page teenage blues. Working on the night moves. Maybe I'll start a new video here. You can buy a bronze model of the head. Take back home. Yeah, there they are. They've had to get these back from the countries that pillaged them. They had a couple of these at the Poly Art Museum. You can watch my video of the Poly Art Museum. They've got some of these. I'm going to start a new video here. I'll go at exit B, I think, and check out the museum and see if it's open. It's a Monday, so I don't have a whole lot of options. I was going to go all the way out to the Botanical Gardens, but I figured if it rains, I don't want to be walking around there and have no other options for getting inside, you know? The metro system in Beijing works fairly well with the stored value card. It's a little bit of a hassle to connect around to all the different metro stops since, like Tokyo, which is modeled, both Tokyo and Beijing are modeled after the ancient city of Xi'an, which set the trend for city planning in East Asia for 1,000 years. Survived in ruin in the park that you can visit today. All the way up here. It's a pretty big park, about 2.5 kilometers across. So be prepared for a little walking. The guidebook doesn't mention it, but over here they said there's a museum, Beijing Longji Tian Shadow Play Culture Museum. And the rest of the park has, I think, more modern gardens in this area, and the ruins are more up here. I was going to go to the Summer Palace today, but it's probably going to rain, not the greatest day. So I thought I could walk around the old Summer Palace first, then go down to the Sackler Museum. This is all Peking University down here. It's going on 11 o'clock. It took me a while to get here because I played my little hop on, hop off game of recording the metro stations. So I came up on line 8 to Beito Shang, to line 10, transferred to line 4 at Hedian, Huangzhuang. It probably would have been easier to just go to line 4 up here, but this was more of a straight line, and I like recording metro stops. As I read my guidebook in the morning, if I haven't read the section, it doesn't really waste any time because I'm reading the guidebook in between stops. So, not a big... I'm in the Yuanming Yuan metro station off of line 4. I think these are some of the ruins from the old Summer Palace, which was burned down in 1860. Chinese history low point in humiliation by the foreign powers. The French and the British during the Second Opium War torched and looted the Emperor's Palace, which was their summer home retreat north of Beijing. And ironically, built with the help of the Jesuits in certain areas of the palace with European buildings, and it's those stone European buildings that big deal. The Summer Palace, the modern Summer Palace, that's a tourist attraction, is here, and its metro stop is Baigongmen. So we're now here at Yuanming Yuan. When I come out, I'll record this last curve. So.